is the Christmas season that most of us are familiar with, complete with cowboy Santas. But this year, I discovered Yule in an entirely different way and mainly out of necessity because, frankly, I wasn't feeling it. Grab yourself a hot beverage and strap in because I want to show you some deep magic that I discovered this year. A new way of celebrating the Yuletide season, or maybe you're familiar with it, but this was really new for me. This was reinvention. While I set up my holiday decor and take you along for the ride, I want to share with you this new way of viewing the season that has made this time of year so powerful for me. I'm hoping that by sharing this with all of you, you will find a way to connect with the season that is not commercial, a way that's deeply meaningful and takes you into a deeper way of understanding your own personal practice and your connection to yourself in a way that makes you feel powerful, that makes you feel more alive and creates a deep sense of connection with the rhythms and cycles of the earth that we live on and call home. 2 weeks ago, I had all of the Christmas stuff put down in the living room, and then I sat and stared at it. Day after day, I looked at these Christmas decorations in deep sadness. In my steady march towards crondom, I falsely assumed that that was just going to be about menopause. But menopause is so much more than all of that. This was to be year number 2 of me decorating the house by myself, sans children. Last year, it was incredibly sad. Incredibly sad for me to be doing it all alone. And it's so weird. My kids are adults, okay? So it's not like this is new. My kids are grown. They've been gone for a while. And I just kind of had this thought that I had faced the empty nest, but I hadn't. And it all came crashing down this year. I'm missing my mom. My dad died this year. My best friend is sick, like really sick. Things are hard, and I'm really facing this aspect of myself that's deep and dark and really, really scary. It's winter on the farm. Things are what some people call grim, but this is my favorite weather. Gray with no leaves on the trees and just the beauty of winter all around, causing me to go within and kind of nestle. I could hear something within myself really crying to be acknowledged. So I thought I'll do something to raise my spirits. I'll craft. That's next week's video. All of the crafts that I do every year, the things that I make for everyone, and I'll raise my spirits. And it did. It kind of got me there. But what it did is it created this contemplative space. It really let me nestle and figure out what was going on. And I finally figured it out. I just have to do Yule, Solstice, completely different than I ever have. I am not a mommy anymore. I'm a hexa. I'm a grandma. And I'm moving into my crone years, and that is about embracing the seasons in a way that really mirror the truth of my story and my gifts, but also the truth of her that's reflected in me. I know this sounds really far out, but here's what I did. I knew that the answer lay with the Dark Mother, and so I turned towards her this year. And I chose to do something very different for this season than I ever have. And it's turning out to be incredibly rewarding. I started out by dedicating this season to her, pouring my heart out to her in prayer and just honoring this season in my life and how she is here to take me into it. And I'm so grateful for this time of year to really be ushering in this change within me. I made smoke offerings throughout the day and kind of kept those fires burning, remembering to rekindle that fire over and over again in me to stay conscious of what this new way of honoring this season in my life and the season that I find myself in is. This was so interesting to see how involved my animals were around me because I'm really not conscious of them. As I took things down off the walls, I released my ideas about what the season has meant to me in the past and just allowed there to be space for something new to land. This is Belladonna and Mary, and you'll find them in my entry. I thought that was fitting for this time of year. I decided to really stoke the fire and get the house just hot, hot, hot. That internal fire that I'm really needing right now, I wanted to feel it brewing inside of me. And I also got the smoke billowing in the house, opening up all the windows and the doors to let the old energy out and the new energy in. I have a bit of a Santa/old man winter fetish, as you will see as the video goes on. This guy's paint has fallen off his face. He's the most Nordic Santa out there. Oh my goodness. I'm going to repaint him one of these days. My grandmother was a master crafter. Years ago, they had these very expensive carolers that the rest of her children were collecting, and she thought, I could make those and instead of spending tons of money on them. And so she did, sewing their clothes and sculpting their faces. In honor of my grandmother, I broke out the pledge and made that table shine. Oh my goodness, does anybody remember putting pledge out for their grandmother as a kid? I just kept thinking as I was removing all the dust, oh my goodness, she would be rolling over in her grave if she knew there was this much dust in my house. My mom was a single parent in the 70s, which was kind of rare at that time. So I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, and I was her favorite. Yes, I was. And so as I put these out, I reminded myself of all the fun we had crafting together. And I thought of her blood and my blood and what she's given to me. If you saw my Witchy October video, you know that I'd like to change up my pillows for the season. I decided to leave the black pillow, though, as a way to honor the Dark Mother in my home. Sitting to take time and reflect throughout the day is something that I really enjoyed. You might find this scene a little boring because there's not much going on, and I think that's the problem with a lot of us, is that we don't want to slow down and be with ourselves and really listen. However, giving myself permission to not be doing something was really powerful. I just let this day be what I needed it to be for my soul. I let this day be a day of communing, of really rejuvenating. It's actually the most natural of things to just chill out by the fire and enjoy being yourself. Each one of these pieces is filled with memories and stories. Acknowledging those stories during the day and allowing them to be something that moves forward with me and to evolve felt sacred and a part of this balancing. I'm lucky enough to have a giant bay laurel in my yard, and so I looped that all through the stairwell, and it's right by the heater, wafting its smell as it dries. When my mother passed, I inherited all of her Christmas things, and in there was this card written to her, signed by my grandparents, and I read it every year. As the day progressed and I let go, I could feel the heaviness dissipating, and there was a clarity of hanging out with the Dark Mother that was coming over me. It wasn't about loss, it was really about gaining something fresh and new. More pledge, oh my goodness, it was so incredibly dirty up there. But I'm washing away all the dirt, all the cobwebs, everything that used to be, and ushering in a new era of being myself. My grandmother had 9 grandchildren, so every year she enlisted me to help her create these Christmas ornaments with our school photos. And it was a joy, except for the year that I had to put this school photo in. And there's a story here. I wanted to look like Lauren Bacall. A nice 1950s pinup hair, but it's not exactly something that's possible for a 7-year-old. My grandmother told me that she was going to cut my hair like this, and when she put the mirror in front of me, she had given me this haircut. I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter. But seriously, I can laugh about it now, but at the time I was absolutely enraged. I was so upset, and I wasn't the type of kid to go off and just cry. I was the type of kid to get bitterly angry. I have to say though, pulling this ornament out this year is the first time that I honestly just chuckled at the whole thing. I'm 52, and it took me this many years to chuckle at getting that page boy haircut. Years later, I carried on the tradition and made an ornament with the picture of my first daughter. Look at how young I am there. Thanks, Grandma, for passing this tradition on to me. As evidenced by this video, I have quite the collection of Santas and winter holiday men. This is my favorite. It's all about the faces on them, and this one is absolutely adorable. However, I did purchase this guy last year. I'm currently changing him into something spectacular that I will share next week in my crafting video with you. In the midst of all this holiday fanfare, you may have forgotten that I was here to talk to you about the deep magic that I had picked up. I tried really hard to capture what I'm talking about in a blog post, which leads me to this. If you've made it this far, you may be interested in being on my newsletter and reading that blog, and there's a link down below. What I came to was this understanding of who I'm calling the compassionate caller. Running through the fabric of all things, there is the soul of the Dark Mother. She resides deep within the earth and is felt most during the winter months. When I sink into myself and I get rid of the busyness of my life and all of the stories that I've told myself forever that hold me back and keep me powerless, I find myself sitting in her cauldron. I find myself sitting in what I call the time of making. This is basically the primordial soup, the place where all possibilities exist. And in this space, I find that I am wanting for nothing. I lack nothing because everything is possible. And when I marinate in that, I have this sense of coming to myself, of knowing that I am created just the way that I need to be in this moment if I'll only slow down and drink of that soup. Because when I do, when I relax into that, I'm not guessing who I am or who I should be or what I should be doing. I'm being myself. I'm being my most powerful self. Most people won't make it to this part of the video. This is the part where I ramble about how wonderful it is to be you, about how important it is to drop into the cauldron, to let yourself sit in there in the stillness, to be uncomfortable and alone with yourself so that you can realize that you are 100% loved just the way you are, that you are incredibly capable of being all that you need to be by simply relaxing. And that's what I'm coming to understand, especially as I make this transition into myself as the crone. If you're young and listening to this, I just want to encourage you to sink into that cauldron, to dive down, to let yourself fall out of your head, through your heart, out the bottom of your feet, into the earth, and let yourself be deep within, held by the goddess, held by the primal scream that is perpetual birth. To realize that you're never going to arrive because the now is perpetual, always changing, always perfect, and always you. A tree doesn't try to be a tree. It's just a tree. So many things that we let into our heart or put upon us. When I think about how much time I have spent trying to conform to the ideas of others, it's mind-blowing. When all along, in the stillness of the earth, within the realm of the infinite possibility that is me, has been all the perfection and all the power of the Great Mother who has nothing to prove. And I am from her. I am a reflection of her. I'm here taking this journey to prove to myself that I am all that in a bag of chips. So for the coming Gregorian New Year, for the solstice that we're just a wink away from, that moment when the light will be reborn to the earth, I want to encourage you to sign up for radical acceptance, radical self-love. I'm talking about perfect love and perfect trust. The kind of love that is born out of relationship with the earth around you and an open heart. The deep magic that I discovered was that I don't need to try anymore. I just need to relax into being myself and enjoying this ride. With everything in me, I want to say that you are beautiful just the way you are, that you don't need to qualify for anyone. I want to let you know that the universe, the YO universe, wants to support you in the dreams and visions that you have of being whole, of being happy, of being love. Blessed be the Dark Mother who calls us to ourselves, to the stillness of who we are, to sit in the cauldron, the time of making, and be dreamed into this world in a new and fresh way.